One agenda, the rest not agenda.
At this time, we'll call the Riverside City Council meeting for Monday, July 20th, 2026, to order at 6:04 p.m. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Brown? Ms. Fry?
Here.
Mr. Gaby?
Here.
Mr. Maxfield?
Present.
Ms. Angel Patterson?
Here.
Ms. Frida Patterson?
Here.
Mayor Williams?
Here. Do we have a motion to excuse our absent member?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Ms. Lytle, are there any additions or corrections to the agenda as presented?
There are not.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I have a question about the agenda.
Yes.
Is it possible under the discussion items to add the stormwater homestead adjustment just for record-keeping purposes? I know that's planning on being a discussion item.
I don't believe that would be an issue.
Mr. Mayor, there could be a motion from a council member, Ms. Patterson, for example, to amend the agenda to add that as a discussion item, and then if that is carried,
Yes.
then there would be a motion to approve the amendment the agenda as amended. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
So move.
I will second the motion. We have a motion and a second. All those, and make sure I'm saying it correctly, all those in favor of adding to the discussion items on our agenda for this evening, the stormwater utility homestead reduction discussion,
Adjustment.
adjustment,
Correct.
signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Agenda is amended.
Well, Mr. Mayor, there needs to be a vote.
And then we're going to
to
approve.
Yes, thank you.
Then we'll approve the amended agenda. There's no further questions. I will ask for a motion to approve the amended agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Jesse and a second from Angel. All those in favor of approving the amended agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. If you're able, please join us to rise and pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And we do have a guest with us this evening who comes to us from our court system. So I would like to introduce and welcome Judge Nicholas, is it Sylvain or Sylvain? Sylvain. All right. Well, welcome and thank you. And I believe you wanted to come here and introduce yourself and talk to our council members. So we appreciate you being here.
Yes, sir. Thank you, first of all, Mr. Mayor and members of council, for allowing me a couple of minutes to introduce myself to you and give you a little background about myself. I am the Montgomery County Juvenile Court Judge. I graduated from the University of Dayton with an engineering degree before I went to law school. And then when I came back, I was 9 years a Montgomery County prosecutor doing felony work, and then 23 years at the Domestic Relations Court as a magistrate, dealing with everything that families and parents can argue about, and that's quite a lot. I'm here because the juvenile justice system has many partners and stakeholders, such as your police department, your Board of Education, and obviously this council and the citizens that you represent. I wanted to be here today so I could mention that what I want to do is to listen to any concerns that you have about juvenile justice issues. I want to hear your concerns. If there's things that the court is doing well, I want to hear about that. If there are things that the court can improve on, I want to know about that too, so that I can work towards fixing any problems. I want to have this be the first time and not the last time I appear before your council, so that we can create modes of communication, cooperation, so that we can have that cooperation between council and the court about any issues of shared concerns about juvenile justice issues. So again, I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity to introduce myself. I certainly do not intend for this to be the last time I talk to you and listen to your concerns. And that's all I wanted to do here tonight, was just to be here and say hello. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will move along on our agenda. If there's anyone with us tonight who wishes to speak on an agenda or non-agenda item, there are forms in the back of the room that you can fill out and turn in up front, and a number of you already have. We will move along to the meeting minutes from our June 15th meeting. I don't know if all of us, I'm hoping all of us have had a chance to review those. I do have one correction that I found at the very end when I mentioned the St. Helens Festival, and it's listed as the St. Louis Festival.
It is?
It is.
Wow. That is actually a Scrivener error, and I can fix that without needing an additional vote.
Okay, well, there you go.
I do have a question on that one as well. On page 15, is it possible to amend that section where we were talking about skipping the July 6th meeting to also include there that that's when we determined that we would review the homestead adjustment tonight, just for record keeping again? Page 15,
Okay, thank you.
yeah.
Councilmember Patterson, are you on the top of page 15 under your comments?
It was actually after Mr. Maxfield had made the motion to move forward with not having the July 6th meeting.
Oh.
I
thank
just
you.
wanted it added in there that that's where we determined that the homestead adjustment conversation would occur tonight. It was misleading because we had back and forth discussion about that earlier in the minutes.
Thank you very well. So if
And
that.
again, for record-keeping purposes only.
Sure. So if you'd like to make a motion to amend the minutes to
Yes.
include that phraseology, you could.
Motion.
would the-
Second.
Well, would the phrasing be,
No.
just for the record, how would you like or propose for your motion, the phrasing?
You could put in there that Angel Patterson asked if this would give staff time to review the wording for the homestead adjustment discussion to continue on July 20th.
Okay, that would be a motion, what you just made?
Correct.
Okay, and it's right after Jesse makes the motion.
Yes,
So
it
it's
is,
at the middle
right
of
there,
page
yeah.
15?
Middle-ish, yeah.
Yeah, right after Mr. Maxfield's comments. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? And do you have the wording needed?
I will in the recording.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. See that right there, Angel, St. Louis Festival.
I missed that, actually.
I also thank the attendees of any St. Louis festival also. I wouldn't go, but, all right, so we have two adjustments that have been made. Is there a motion to approve the amended meeting minutes from June 15th?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Frida Patterson, a second from Angel Patterson. All those in favor of approving the amended minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Moving along to unfinished business, we have the second reading, public hearings, and potential adoption of 3 ordinances. Oh, I apologize. See, so I need somebody sitting next to me on both sides. First, we will do public comment on agenda items, and I apologize, I thought we didn't. We just had one. So we do have a public comment on an agenda item, and I will ask Ken Ulmer of 4545 Oakdale to please come to the podium to speak on an agenda item. Thank you for joining us tonight. Please state your name and address for the record.
Kenneth Ulmer, 4545 Oakdale Avenue. I just want to state out front, yes, there is safety issues where this is proposed. I have no problem with that.
You're talking about the mower.
The mower.
You wrote that down on your slip. I just want to make sure that
Yes,
people
I'm
know.
sorry,
when-
the mower, yeah. And Ms. Moore did a very good job, but I think what needs to be also put out there is this mower can be rented. Even in her statement that it cut the man hours down from 80 to 120, which I wonder how it's that many hours, but that's irrelevant, to 12. Would it be make more sense to rent this piece of equipment? This equipment, number one, they're very new. I mean, they've only been around 4 or 5 years. They're very expensive. And the places this is going to go or proposed to go, it states right in here that it's where people cannot safely go down. There is so many things that a mower like that can hit. I mean, this is Riverside. Actually, this is everywhere. I'm not going to just pinpoint Riverside. Rocks are going to work out of that. People throw tires over on that. There's so many things. This equipment can be damaged so badly, and it's not something you can put in a regular lawnmower shop. This is a specialized piece of equipment. I just have to wonder, is it worth $52,400 to use a piece of equipment that we could possibly rent for cheaper, and somebody else will be more responsible for it than to put this kind of money out? I mean, it was less than a year ago, somebody stood at this very podium and told the city of Riverside that money's going to have to be cut somewhere.
Yeah.
Expenses are going to have to be watched. I gotta wonder, what is going to be the long term of what this mower can cost Riverside if it gets damaged? What's the maintenance fees on it? Where would it be fixed? How long would it be out if it gets fixed? This isn't, it's not a vehicle that you're going to use 365 days a year if needed. This is something that's used in very few spots, very few times a month. That's just basically a concern. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. That was the only slip turned in for a public comment on an agenda item. There were other folks who asked to speak for public comment on non-agenda items, and we will get to those in a little bit. But first, we have 3 ordinances, which will have their second reading, public hearing, and potential adoption. All 3 of these we first discussed at our last council meeting. The first one is ordinance 26-0-882.01. This is an appropriation for the rest of the year for $111,000. And Ms. Lytle, this was related to the trash pickup service. Am I on the right one?
This is for the
This is for
Community
Community
Improvement
Improvement Corporation. I'm
That's
sorry.
right.
I'm
And so
looking right
this
at it.
is for nuisance abatement, like lawn mowing and boarding up the
Thank you.
houses. Yes.
So this is in a supplemental appropriation for our Community Development Department for the period through the 31st of December this year. The Riverside City Ordinance, or the Riverside City Charter allows for an ordinance to be read by title only unless a council member requests otherwise. Madam Clerk, would you please read this ordinance by title only?
Ordinance number 26-0-882.01, an ordinance to make supplemental appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures, community development, $111,000, of the city of Riverside, state of Ohio, for the period January 1 through December 31, 2026.
All right.
I'd make a motion that we table this ordinance, 06-088201, coming to the understanding that Phil Downing brought a budget to the city, and this has not been reviewed by council.
This
I would
is-
like to see,
This isn't for the CIC.
do what?
This isn't the CIC one.
It is the
It is the
CIC,
CIC
I was
one.
going
I thought
to
this-
say, yes.
Yes, this is CIC.
And that's something I was going to say, this should not be written as our community development because it's not going to our city community development. It's actually going to a separate entity, and it should state that this money is for the CIC, not the city community development.
So the only, just as a point of clarification, the only reason I believe that that says community development where it is because that's the line out of the city's budget in
Gotcha,
the
okay.
community development budget that pays the CIC. So I
Gotcha.
think that's why it's referenced community development here rather than CIC.
In the future, for any of that, can we state that it is going to the CIC so our residents just understand, where that money is going to instead of thinking it's to actual city community development?
It is in the explanation, the title of that ordinance in the explanation of the memo specifically says the CIC for the remainder of the year.
Under what, I'm sorry?
The memo that was, the communication sheet that was in the
The packet.
In the packet.
Right, but I mean, a lot of residents don't read the whole packet. They only read that agenda and determine if they want to come to speak based on what the agenda says. So I think
So
there
you
should
want it
be
on the
some type of
agenda?
clarification that it should state, coming from the community development, going to the CIC, or however it needs to be worded. But back to what Steve said. Go
Okay,
ahead.
yeah.
About tabling.
Okay, Steve, I apologize. You kind of got cut off, so could you just start from the beginning? You want to table this because Phil Downing has a budget, and then that was the last
He presented it to
thing.
the city, and it has not been brought before council.
He presented it to the city. Did he present it to the CIC board, you
He
mean?
said he'd give it to you.
Well, right, I'm a member of the CIC board.
And he thought, talking to Phil, he thought it was going to be shared with the city council.
Okay, well, if that was Phil's expectation, then I'm happy to share it, and if there's an expectation that was not met, then by all means, let me know, because that was something that was not clear to me. But if there's a item that was presented to the CIC that any member of council would like to see, then I'm happy to share that. It's no problem.
So are
We
you
gotta know
asking
it's
to
there.
see that before we vote on that? Is that what you're asking? Like you want a chance to review that before we
Yes.
vote? Is that what you're asking?
And I would like to say, on my behalf, that I feel like any important documents pertaining to monies coming from us to them, land coming from us to them, should always come before council, and they should be notified of such prior to.
Well, I completely understand. I'm pointing out that when we set up the CIC, we essentially picked a designee from council to be there. But if anyone has any questions or input or would like to see anything and everything the CIC is up to, then that's something that I'm more than happy to share.
That's what I'm saying. I
More
would
than
like to
happy.
request that from here on out, anything pertaining to any monies coming from the city going to the CIC, any properties coming from the city going to the CIC, so that council is all aware of what is going on. So when we're questioned by our residents, we actually have an understanding, because right now, it's kind of iffy as to what we have an understanding of and can relay back to the residents.
Absolutely, and I'd be more than happy to produce a monthly update, or even if it's giving people the minutes and inviting people to meetings. There's people on the stage who have come to the last couple of meetings. There's people in attendance who have come to the last couple of meetings, and I'm happy to see that. Looking at the city manager and city law director, if we had a first reading of the ordinance in June, and if this is tabled for this evening, would bringing it back, would it have to come back as a first reading at a later date, or could it remain in second reading, public hearing, adoption phase, essentially, from the procedural standpoint?
Mr. Mayor, from a procedural standpoint, it has already passed a first reading. It does not revert back to a first reading. If the motion is tabled, I want to just be clear on the vernacular. It is the second reading and potential adoption and public hearing is tabled until it is taken off the table. If there is which was the motion. There's also a motion to postpone to a date certain, to August 3rd, whatever the second meeting date in August is. Just throwing that advice out there for council if there is a desire to put a definitive date on when the motion for the second reading will come back. But to your point, it does not revert to a first reading. If the ordinance is tabled or postponed, that would be the second reading and public hearing that is tabled and postponed, or postponed.
Well, then I would like to second Steve's motion to table, as opposed to setting a date certain, because the CIC doesn't meet in July, but they do meet in August, but it's not till after at least our first meeting.
Okay.
So I would first want to make sure that I have a good idea of the information that everybody would like to have, and that's something that we can get regardless. But if there's more information that's needed, or if there's information they want from a board meeting, then it might be more pertinent. But I would just say we could table it for now. We could always bring it back August 3rd.
I do have a question. Would our ability, or would the CIC's ability to do some of that lawn mowing be affected by tabling the motion?
I don't know when the payment schedule is, because I believe they're paid monthly. Are they billed monthly?
So, just as a point of clarification, so the city is the one that is currently doing the maintenance
Okay.
on a lot of those properties, and obviously citywide. So out of the 111,076 is scheduled to go to the rest of the contractual obligation for their professional services agreement. 35 of that is additional appropriations for the Community Development Department to do nuisance abatement. So the grass mowing, boarding of nuisance properties, things like that.
So that will
is-
That's why
Continue.
it says community development.
Correct. So that is a portion of that. That would
Okay.
obviously then be tabled to a next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, well then, I would invite anyone who has, anyone amongst my fellow members of council, any and all information that you desire and would need to see from the CIC to better inform your decision, please let me know, and I will make every effort to have that to you, and then some prior to the next meeting, so that hopefully we could take action, and any of the additional work that this funding would be responsible for wouldn't be held up. So we have a motion and a second to table this ordinance.
Motion.
I made the second, so I just wasn't asked if there's any further discussion. We don't do a roll call vote first.
Just voice vote.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right. We will move on to ordinance 26-0-882.02. This is for our CDBG expenses and appropriation for those projects. Jesse, do you want to add anything
No,
for
that's
clarity?
That's exactly what it's for. And
Okay.
Our finance director gave the staff presentation at the last meeting
Mm-hmm.
regarding this, so nothing's changed.
Okay. The Riverside City Council allows for an ordinance to be read by, the Riverside City Charter allows for an ordinance to be read by title only unless a council member requests otherwise. Madam Clerk, could you please read this ordinance by title only?
Ordinance number 260882.02, an ordinance to make supplemental appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures, CDBG projects, $58,079.50, of the City of Riverside, State of Ohio, for the period January 1 through December 31, 2026.
I will open the public hearing for ordinance 26-0-882.02 at 6:26 PM. If anyone wishes to speak on this topic, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Hearing no one and seeing no one come forward, I will close the public hearing for ordinance 26-0-882.02 at 6:27 PM. Is there any further discussion among members of council? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Oh, I did not get the motion.
Oh, yeah, we got,
Oh.
we got a motion to.
I jumped to the public hearing, sorry. Is there a motion for 26-0-882.02?
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion from Mr. Gaby and a second from Brenda. Ms. Fry. I apologize. Madam Clerk, now can you please call the roll?
Mr. Gaby?
Yes.
Ms. Fry?
Yes.
Mr. Maxfield?
Yes.
Ms. Angel Patterson?
Yes.
Ms. Frida Patterson?
Yes.
Mayor Williams?
Yes. Our third ordinance, ordinance 26-0-882.03, and this is for solid waste. We covered this at our June meeting. Is there a motion for this before we go into the public hearing?
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion from Angel and a second from Jesse. I'll open the public hearing for ordinance 26-0-882.03 at 6:20.
Would you like me to read it?
I don't have my sheet in front of me tonight. I got here late.
I didn't know that you didn't have it, I'm sorry.
I'm doing it from
I
memory.
will go, I'm sorry.
Riverside City Charter allows for an ordinance to be read by title only unless a council member requests otherwise. Madam Clerk, would you please read this ordinance by title only?
Ordinance number 260882.03, an ordinance to make supplemental appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures, solid waste revenue, $115,000, of the City of Riverside, State of Ohio, for the period January 1 through December 31, 2026.
Thank you. I will now open the public hearing for ordinance 26-0-882.03 at 6:28 PM. Anyone wishing to speak on this, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Hearing no one and seeing no one come forward, I will close the public hearing for ordinance 26-0-882.03 at 6:29 PM. Is there any further discussion among members of council? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Angel Patterson?
Yes.
Mr. Maxfield?
Yes.
Ms. Fry?
Yes.
Mr. Gaby?
Yes.
Ms. Frida Patterson?
Yes.
Mayor Williams?
Yes. We'll now move into new business, of which we have a few resolutions. The first resolution, Resolution 26-R-3106, And this is a lighting assessment that is, for all practical purposes, a housekeeping item for the 2027 year.
It is. This legislation enables the city of Riverside to collect assessments for various city lighting districts. We talked about lighting quite a bit a few meetings ago, just because we joined in the collaborative agreement with other jurisdictions for our street lighting pricing. And so this is very much a housekeeping item. It allows the city to assess for the street lights in various districts.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion from Mr. Maxfield and a second from Ms. Frida Patterson. All those in favor of Resolution 26-R-3106 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The second resolution, 26-R-3107, this is for the remote control lawnmower that was discussed a moment ago. I don't know if Ms. Lytle, if you or if Ms. Moore wanted to add anything into this discussion.
Mrs. Moore is prepared to provide any comments and answer any questions that council may have this evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Cody, can you cue up that PowerPoint, please? All right. Well, I thought this would be a good opportunity to talk about this remote control mower. It's a new piece of equipment and newer technology. So go ahead, Cody. What's driving this purchase? As we all know, the 35 Woodman Interchange project really transformed that interchange, and it's lovely. But ODOT, chooses the design, we receive it, and the new design included slopes that were much steeper as opposed to the original design, and stormwater detention area to meet current stormwater requirements. And of note also, and it came up many times during the construction, this area is, that whole hillside there is subject to, it's like a natural spring, so there's chronic dampness there. It impacted the construction as they were constructing it, but it exists there all the time. So, and then per ODOT requirements, once everything's complete and the punch list is done, you let the grass grow for a year and you don't touch it. Go ahead, next slide, Cody. So we waited the year, springtime came. This is our equipment that we typically use for mowing here in the city, all of the areas, from right-of-way to parks. So we have our zero turn, which is our biggest fleet of mowers. That's the green guy up in the corner. The tractor, that's a rough cut machine. Also the quick cut, another rough cut machine. And then our favorite, weed whips. Been pretty brutal in that heat past couple weeks. So we came out in the spring and we sized up all of our equipment and we looked at the slopes and we realized it's too dangerous. So due to the steepness, the wet ground, proximity to highway traffic, we ended up weed whipping most of it. So, and that was the only way to really mow that area without destroying the turf and the grass that was in place. So, as you're aware, the biggest risk is the interchange near highway traffic. Additional risk would be, sliding off the hill in a zero turn or rolling the mower. Next slide, please. So, employee safety is always a concern. So I started looking into it. The risk. Every year, and this is from Bureau of Labor Statistics and OSHA, approximately 90 people die annually from lawnmower accidents, another 25 to 35,000 treated in emergency rooms. So standard practice when you're evaluating a job per OSHA is to perform a job hazard analysis. So slope mowing is one of our most dangerous things we do. I know people don't think of it. You think, oh, it's just mowing the grass. So a job hazard analysis, it's a technique used by OSHA. I've used it hundreds of times in the past. You look at the job and you analyze the following. What can go wrong? What are the consequences? How could it go wrong? What are the contributing factors? And how likely is it the hazard occur? So the hazard of people getting hurt is real, it's happened. Next slide, please. So we looked at our equipment, and then we started looking, what else could we use? And that's when the remote control mower came into play. We had 3 different vendors come out and demo the equipment on the slope and other slopes in the city. And that's where, after the staff tested all the products, they ended up with the preferred product due to its ease of operation and minimal maintenance was the R-Series mower. So the R-Series mower hits slopes at 50 degrees with ease, but also with the winch attachment, which we're proposing to get, you can easily add up to 15 degrees. So that would cover that area. Next slide, please, Cody. How is this different than a regular mower? Rapid deployment. It fits on a regular trailer, and it's off the trailer and ready to use within minutes. It's operated by a remote joystick, easy to operate. Our guys started using it within 15 minutes of orientation from the vendor. The track design really makes it nice, so it stays on those slopes, even in wet, mushy, uneven ground. Has a very low center of gravity. And you can stand a safe distance away, but you can still operate it. It cuts brush and grass up to 1.5 inches in diameter. That's wireless control. It has an e-stop button on both the machine and the remote control. It automatically shuts down if it loses a signal, and we tested all these features. And then the blade disengaged if it's at an unsafe tilt angle. Next slide, please. So my recommendation, along with the rest of our staff, is to purchase this mower. Number 1, driver employee safety, and number 2, work efficiency. The cost is $52,400. I recognize that's a large sum of money. Because this will be used on 35 and other areas, we're using some of the state highway money, which is what state highway money was designed for, is to operate and maintain the state highway within our jurisdiction. And then the rest of that money would come from the capital equipment fund. Of note, once we started testing these mowers, we realized we could be using this in all kinds of places where we're pushing the limits of the zero turn, and we could save man hours. I think we're all aware from the 65 North report last year that our staffing levels were understaffed by at least 5 people. So my job is to keep the employees safe and get as much work done as possible. So once we started looking at this, we could also use those on the State Route 4 ramps, Center of Flight ponds, Springfield Street ramps, Lorella Pond, our bridge embankments, for example, Spinning Road Bridge, the bike path area at the dead end of Richland, our new Phase 1 Woodman construction. I think everyone's seen how great it looks, the new bus stop there. Those embankments are very steep. Linden Avenue and Spinning Highway slopes as well. So there's multiple areas where we could use this, keep employees safer, and work faster. So that's why staff is recommending to purchase this mower, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Have you compared rental prices on those?
Yes, we have, and it did not make sense to rent one. When we looked at, the state has a requirement for the number of times we're required to mow per year. And so when you looked at that requirement is 4 times a year, and then you add that up. So the annual rental cost just to do 35 in Woodman, and this is approximate, $10,000. So within 5 years, this mower pays for itself, and it has an expected useful life of 12 years.
And that's to say nothing of the man hours you're saving.
I don't have enough man hours.
Well, I realize that, but if it's
so-
80 to 120 man hours to take care of that new intersection, which has a new steep grade because they had to do a tight diamond at just ballparking $25 an hour, if you add in a service worker's full compensation, then you're talking about $30,000 right there. And that's down to 12 hours per cut. That's a factor of 10 that we're reducing it by. So not only does it pay for itself, it also frees up a large amount of money with the man hours that we could use for other things or the money we don't have to spend.
Correct.
Now, if we're able to utilize it in other areas, we should be able to extend the life of our other equipment, correct? Is that kind of the
We,
assumption?
currently, our zero turns are on a 5-year capital equipment replacement schedule, and that's because we use them everywhere. In places like this, where normally you turn those over every 3 years. I have a life expectancy for all of our capital equipment. I have based that on the actual use we perform on each machine, and then I put what I call the Riverside factor in it, which is we have to make everything last a little longer. So our zero turns, and we had one unexpectedly die early this year. It's once every 5 years. So hopefully the zero turns get a little more life out of them.
Was that estimated rental cost $10,000 per year?
Yes,
Okay,
only to do 35 in Woodman.
okay. Do we know, is this a name brand or like a budget brand mower? The reason I ask is I tried to look up potential maintenance issues and whatnot to try to get an idea of like how often these things are breaking down. Is that going to cost more for replacement and whatnot later? And everything I can find online says for like name brand of these type of mowers, it's relatively uncommon for major issues, but for budget mowers, there were high volume issues for damages.
I'm not really sure what you're referring to as a budget mower. There's 3 major vendors of remote control commercial mowers. This RC is one of the top 3.
Okay,
The other one would be Ventrac, and the other one would be Skag.
okay,
And those, we demoed the top 3 commercial brands.
okay.
Are they any training required to stay OSHA compliant with this?
We, for all equipment, I have documented training. It's not an OSHA requirement, but we document our training on all the equipment. So, and we have, every month at the shop, we take all our equipment and we have a whole year mapped out of what items we're going to train on, what month. And then we also add in all of the OSHA required topics that we're supposed to have every year. So we have a safety training plan that covers all equipment and all, and when I say OSHA required, trenching and shoring, bloodborne pathogens, ladder safety, all the standard OSHA stuff. It's
Right.
on a schedule and a plan, and we do it monthly.
So the portion that's coming out of the capital equipment, is that capital equipment specifically for the service department or for the whole city?
It's my understanding from Larry, this capital equipment fund has existed, and it's out of for the whole city. It's
the
not
whole city.
specific to public service. It's a fund that was identified by the auditors that needs to be spent down because it wasn't tacked to anything specific. And the auditor, is my understanding from Larry, does not like funds that aren't tacked to something specific like that when it's capital.
So this is coming out of that other
That
fund that
capital
Larry's talked
equipment
about
fund.
that we need to spend that is separate from our normal capital improvement fund.
And the
then
state
the
highway
state
fund.
Plus
And
highway
that way,
fund.
that allows us to utilize that mower in those areas that aren't state highway, not the interchange, Lorella Pond and those other areas that just belong to the city.
So just to verify, basically both are funds we already have that need to be spent because they were basically free funds from someplace. And we don't, it's not coming out of like general funds or anything else. It's funds we already have.
The capital equipment fund is funds we already have, that it's my understanding from the finance director, need to be spent down. We do not, the state highway fund exists. It's the same fund that I would buy road salt out of. So there's no requirement to spend that down. The only requirement for the state highway fund is that I spend that on state highway-related operations and maintenance.
But the money's already there.
The money is there.
Thank you. Thank you.
If this is coming out of that other capital fund that we've talked about having to spend before, that's the difference between voting for this or against this. To me, that's why I want to be clear on where that's coming from.
Right.
I don't even know if we've had a motion yet. Any other
I
questions?
do have.
Yeah, Brenda, sorry.
Is this going to have any downstream effects in our ability to store the mower?
The great news, it's actually pretty tiny,
Oh, that's awesome.
and we can fit it in the garage. So that's what makes it even more exciting. You know we're space limited.
Okay, thank you.
It's a 52-inch deck.
All right. Any other questions from members of council? Is there a motion for this resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion by members of council, all those in favor of Resolution 26-R-3107 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. We'll move on to our final resolution, Resolution 26-R-3108. Ms. Manager, this is for some of the young men and women at Stebbins.
It is. Mr. Smith can answer any detailed questions you have, but we will be hosting National Night Out coming up here in August, and so this is for the Bounce House at National Night Out.
And that's going to be kind of under the purview of students from the Teachers Academy?
That is correct. So this is going to be, so the booth itself, in my understanding, is going to be run by the Teachers Academy. The Bounce House will be a part of that, and they're using the booth itself as a senior project for Educators Rising, which is a student career technical organization, and they're really big on providing pathways for students to get into teaching and to continue on higher education with teaching. And then they're also really big on Grow Your Own, so returning folks that go on to become teachers back to Stebbins and the Montgomery County area.
Bravo for getting that right. Career Tech Student Organization, Career Tech, that.
Did he
good
give you the
stuff.
line to read?
No, I didn't.
And then
prep
the Career
for it
Tech
or
Center
anything.
plays a large role.
That was all my own research this afternoon.
Yeah.
Okay, and there is so we are making a donation to this group to be a part of National Night Out, which they were already going to be a part of, and we're supporting them.
Correct.
Okay,
All right. How much is that donation?
$400? All right, so if there's no further questions for Cody, is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion from Ms. Angel Patterson, a second from Ms. Frida Patterson. All those in favor of Resolution 26-R-3108 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. We will move into public comment for non-agenda items. And first, we have Mr. Tim Gosnell of 12 Beatrice Drive.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Timothy Gosnell, 12 Beatrice Drive, Riverside, Ohio. Couple questions. I think we're supposed to talk about the Dill Cemetery today, maybe?
Yep.
So, is that still in the?
Yes, we'll have an update, and then the council has been provided with some information from our law director.
Okay, great, thank you. Appreciate that, I really do. Second thing is I guess I'm kind of concerned about how the last meeting, June 15th, how we had a resolution up there for the money from the pot money to go to the roads, and then all of a sudden, we didn't have the resolution anymore, and it was never voted on. How do we do that, I guess, is my question, and if Jim needs to send that to me as an answer, I don't know how we did that. I mean, we had a resolution up there, and then all of a sudden, people changed their mind, and we didn't vote on the resolution whatsoever. I thought when you had a resolution, you had to vote on it. And that's just me, I'm asking, I'm not telling you.
I believe if there's not a second,
Not a second.
there was not a second for there was never a motion or a second made to bring it to a vote.
Okay, that's fair. I didn't figure that out. Third thing, and this one just came up, you're going to spend $52,000 on a lawnmower to cut one new intersection in the state of Riverside. But
City.
you're not going to take a look at another way to fix that intersection where you don't have to have this $52,000 lawnmower, whether you're, I don't know, Moss or something that could be better spent, and then you're going to have $52,000, and all of a sudden, all these areas that you were cutting before, you can still cut before, you can still cut them now. But because we want to spend $32,000 out of the budget, and $20,000 of state money, there's always this free money that magically comes in and out. And slides around, that confuses me. So I guess, why don't you guys take a look at those kind of things? There's gotta be other options, because services comes up with one option and the city manager comes up with one option, don't mean you can't look at other options, other things we can do. How much money are we in the hole today in Riverside? And I'd like an answer to that. Because my understanding is we're under budget, right, Brenda? How much is it? And why do we keep piling more on? You say, well, there's this money that's in there, the capital money that can be used for, that capital money can be used for other things as well. And it can be used to help us try to figure out how to get out of this hole we're getting in. And all you guys are doing is digging us in deeper. And I don't understand. I don't understand how, as a city, we can sit and say, gee, we're hurting for money. And then we can buy $52,000 lawnmowers that nobody, there's like 3 or 4 cities in all of Ohio that have one, like we're trying to get. And there's gotta be other options to fix those intersections that we've been cutting for years, other than one new one. So one new intersection, and you're gonna spend $52,000 on a lawnmower. Doesn't make sense to me. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question on that? From my understanding, ODOT actually, that was all, if I understood correctly, Beth, that was ODOT's design and ODOT's, I mean, we didn't have a choice as to that right there as
Right.
Riverside?
That's an ODOT design. And if you drive around in the state of Ohio and you look at other interchanges with slopes of that nature, you will notice very expensive upfront capital cost of hardscaping. We couldn't front any kind of money to put in permanent hardscaping when that project came into play. So you take what ODOT gives you, which is grass and a retention pond. So that's why we have what we have.
Thank you.
And I would echo that the previous 35 design was much larger, and ODOT gave us the redesign, which is a tight diamond, which created a steeper slope. So that was nothing that Riverside asked for, but it's something we do have to maintain. Next, we'll ask Mr. Ken Ulmer of 4545 Oakdale to speak on a non-agenda item. Welcome back.
I haven't moved. Ken Ulmer, 4545 Oakdale. He kind of stole my thunder with the Dilley Cemetery.
I should have had Ken go first. He already went tonight, so I thought
I don't have any more history lessons on it. I want to thank Steve. Steve was with me here last week. There's several graves that need to be spotted, and I was out looking for the footstones. But I'm like him. I just kind of want to know where we are. I have given our law director a whole lot of information, all I had. Everything points back to nobody really owns that. It's basically a vacant lot. I mean, to me, it's something that if it was a house or a lot that the house sit on, Riverside would jump on. They would get it. They would take that land. This is graves from people who are heroes up there. They're pioneers. They're war heroes. Somewhere, we have to have some human decency about us. You know, we don't want 200 years from now or 173 years from now, which is how long ago that was deeded. We don't want somebody, coming up to their city council and their mayor saying, hey, these guys have been here for how long, and look at their graves. That's what you have up there. You've got people up there who are volunteering from our community, from our government, mowing this lawn up here, giving these people some honor. Somebody needs to step up, honestly. I mean, we are trying to work with other organizations that won't work with us because nobody will take claim to that land. Somebody needs to step up, period. I mean, it needs to happen. You can't depend on us. We're old. I mean, we're not ancient, we're old, but we're not going to be able to take care of it forever. I don't know how else to put it. Somebody needs to step up. Somebody needs to take some responsibility and accountability. They deserve that. Like I said, they're pillars of our community. If it wasn't for a lot of those people up there, we wouldn't be here today. They settled this area. Thank you.
Thank you.
Question, so we just said we were going to discuss that because I wasn't aware, and it's not on the agenda?
Well, the law director gave us all a legal opinion so we could discuss it. So
Okay.
we have the ability, we now have the information that we know what council and city government is able to do.
Okay, I do have more on that. Can I go ahead since it was brought up, or do I need to wait till council comments?
This would actually be a good time because there's no other I don't
Okay.
believe there's anybody else who wants to talk about that.
Okay. So I actually dragged Mr. Gavy down to Montgomery County with me. And we have the last known deed, which I do believe has already been sent to Mr. Miller previously. They did blow it up so it was more legible for me. Last known deed was whenever it was sold from a short to the first Dilly in 1847. They also told me that this property is tax lien eligible. Their records go back to 1997. At that point, there was already a balance due. Now, mind you, it's $1 a year.
A year.
But it's never been paid. There's penalties every year of 10 cents, but there's still the penalties. And it is a tax lien eligible property. Whenever I did research, and this is why I, as a council member, would like to make a motion to see on the next agenda as an ordinance. And I'm going to read from Ohio Revised Code. The lien for taxes against such burial grounds may be enforced in the same manner prescribed for abandoned lands under sections 323.65 to 323.79 of the Ohio Revised Code, except that the burial ground may be transferred only to a municipal corporation, county, or township under Division D of Section 32374 of the Revised Code. I would like to know if we can reach out to Montgomery County and see if they would be willing to donate that land to Riverside, like they do on other properties that are abandoned or what have you. And if not, I understand that we have somebody that had been taking care of it before, but he's actually not a direct descendant and has no rightful claims to it. So if not, then if we can use the CIC or the city itself to then go on in and take it for the taxes. So that it is then property of Riverside. Of course, it's going to take years, but it can be fixed up to be a public cemetery so that people can actually go up and view people that started Mad River Township. They started it, besides the fact that there are the war heroes up there. So I know it's a long process, but I don't see why we can't make a step soon to begin to try to take possession of this property as a city.
Can I ask if you're going to make a motion to have something added, could you do that during the
Council
during
comments?
council member comments?
Sure, so hold off on that part. Okay,
Yes.
sure, thank you.
All right. I'll next ask Mr. Tony Parton of 2412 Fine Drive. Welcome to our meeting. Thank you for joining us. Please state your name and address for the record, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes.
All righty, thank you. Tony Parton, 2412 Fine Drive, Riverside, Ohio. Today I rise to speak about the flock camera situation. Without going into like a whole lot of explanation, basically this is kind of dancing with the Fourth Amendment. And it kind of came to light to me. I'm friends with a lot of friends from back home. So I see it on Facebook. My hometown city of Westland, Michigan, population of 83,500, has actually canceled their contract with the Flock Company. They've decided to no longer be a part of that and take any information from that. Our police department's good. So one of the things, I just made copious notes, so I apologize if I'm all over the screen. Let's see. The flock cameras are well known for abuse. As far as they've been documented, different sheriffs or police in towns that are actually spying on their ex-girlfriends with them. They are Bluetooth connectable. I have a friend back home that is a well-known whistleblower with the Air Force. She actually blew the whistle on chemtrails. And she made a real nice video I wanted to play tonight, but I couldn't find it on the internet anymore. And she said that if you put your phone next to it, it throws off a Bluetooth signal. So I've got questions. Here we go. Want to know who authorized them to be placed in our city, who paid for them, who is the information collected, shared with, if we do have a contract, how long is the contract for, can the public see the contract, and many people were recently elected on transparency and honesty, and we'd like to engage some of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a comment about flock cameras. I'm not prepared to answer those questions by any means.
No, I think we can
Yeah.
get those answers.
Yeah. But I have been following the debate online, not locally, like nationally. It's a hot topic right now. Both the proponents and opponents make valid arguments for the flock camera systems. I am not going to take a stance on this until unless we had broader feedback from the community as a whole to make sure we're meeting the whole community where they're at with that. And I would need to see statistical data indicating how the system has assisted with crime control and safety in Riverside to take a stance on that one way or another. Just putting that out there.
I'm going to refer back to Mr. Miller on that as to if Chief Jackson has that type of information and if it can be public information, as I've seen other places appear to do so, not like specific dates, names, any of that type of information, just specifically it's assisted in.
What impact has it had in a positive
Yes,
way?
like this many stolen vehicles and this many such and such, some type of criteria to see how much they are being used by Riverside as a positive to help with solving crimes.
With our cops, with our
Yes,
people?
yes.
With our people in law
I would
enforcement?
like to have information on that. I did receive, when I requested from Jesse and Jim, some of the safety issues to it. Like everything, I guess, things can be abused, hacked, whatever. But I did receive a fact sheet on that, and I thank you both for that information. I'm just lacking the things from the actual police department as to, what have they assisted in. Thank you.
I'd like to piggyback on that. One of the things that we're assured is that there are audits of who accesses that information. And while we can't get, the sensitive information, I wonder if we could get what do those audits look like? What are we auditing for? So that we can get a sense of how is that a way we can be assured that the information is safeguarded?
I'm not sure if it needs to come in the form of a motion during council member comments, but I think that the type of information Frida was describing, in addition to the questions we had from a citizen, would be good fact sheet type things for all of us to be aware of as these questions come up to us as elected officials. So if there's nothing else on that, we will move on to Donna Gregg of 2261 Hazelton. Thank you for joining us this evening. Please state your name and address for the record, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes, and I appreciate your time.
Donna Gregg, 2261 Hazelton Avenue, Riverside, Ohio. Okay, I want to know why. I live in the Lynn Haven Meyer Platte. All those houses, a long time ago, were beautiful, nice homes. Drive through it now. It looks like a mess. Every 3 or 4 houses, junk, backyard junk. And then you come around into my neighborhood and you raise every house in that neighborhood $40,000. There's one next door to me that's selling for $225,000 and $800. Now, do you think anybody in that neighborhood is going to get $228,000 and buy that house with junk houses all up and down the street? I want to know why. Why all of a sudden we're charged that much? Other houses may be $20,000. We're $40,000. and half of them look like a mess. I called and complained about it to Carl Keith. I said, it's a mess. He goes, it's up to Riverside to do something about it. Not them, Riverside. I call Riverside, and their thing is, well, just, no big deal. So there goes, is my property taxes going to go up? Is everything else going to go up? Everything is going up, and those houses look like a mess. I got one next door to me. The front yard looks like trash. The backyard's trash. I don't know what's running around that backyard. He's got dogs. He never cleans up the dog crap. I don't know what's back there. We're going to end up with rodents and rats running around. That front yard looks like a mess. And then they have a trailer, a big trailer parked in the driveway. Stuff crammed on top of it. Junk underneath it, bottles of pop and this and that. And it's crammed in there. I got bushes growing all up. I don't know whose bushes it is. I want to cut them down. But if I do, he's going to come over and say something because he don't like the idea of them being cut down. So I asked somebody who drives by, I said, is that a city ordinance having that trailer there looking like that? And what I get is this, well, if the trailer is not parked the east side of this way or the west side of that way or not parallel to Airway or not parallel to Burkhart, or if it's not a certain color, or if the wheels aren't certain things, we don't know if it could be an ordinance or not. Now, is that the kind of answer I should get when I'm paying? I water my grass, I put flowers in, I try to make it look nice. Everything I do, I put into my house. That's my life savings. That's what's going to take care of me. And I got a pig that lives next door, and nobody will help me. And if I get out there and say something or do something, I get this ring-a-ding-a-ding. Fuck you, ring-a-ding-a-ding, Donna. That's what I get. And they're told me, well, you do something about it. It's not my job. We are paying you people for it. All you people do is make up more taxes. You got taxes for this, taxes for that, and all the stuff that you've done all over the neighborhood. Every one of these intersections, Woodman and Burkhart, Woodman and Airway. You put all this money into it, and it's worse. On my street, Burkhart, I pulled out, messed up my whole under into my car because of the big potholes. You don't fill any of the street holes. It's a mess.
So Donna, would it be helpful if we helped you talk to the folks at the county to look at the amount that your appraisal might be going up for your property value?
Yeah.
And also, based on the address you turned in on Hazelton, then maybe it could be a good time for code enforcement to take a look at some of the items you've just brought to our attention.
It's like every third or fourth house looks like a mess. Somebody's going to come down, and my house is going to say $119,000. They're going to pull in the driveway, and they're going to see this mess on that side, 3 or 4 houses down a mess, another mess, and another mess, and another mess. Do you think they're going to pay $119,000 when they can probably go where there's a nice area to live in and pay that?
Well, let us take a look at those, and then also, I think, as people in our community are dealing with the property reappraisals that all of us have found out in the last 2 weeks, that any time that we could get out information about how people can talk to their county representatives and make an appeal, then we'd love to share that information.
Because he's a rental. His house is going to get worse and worse, worse and worse, and it's going to be next to me.
Well, we'll do what we can on our side.
And to follow up on Pete, so the appraisals don't have anything to do with Riverside, the city. Those are Montgomery County that does your appraisals.
And I called Carl Keith.
Yeah, that is Montgomery County. However, neighbors, yards, all that type of stuff is Riverside coding,
So
code enforcement.
They might have well told me, screw it.
Right.
You're going to have to pay it whether you like it or not. I called Riverside, and they tell me that I have to do something. Why do I? I'm not getting paid to take care of that neighborhood. I have to put up with him yelling at me and cussing me out and ring-a-ding-a-ding, fuck you, because I don't like living next door to him. He treats his dogs like crap.
Let us take a look at those specific properties you're referencing.
Yeah, just go through the whole plat.
Well, we have your address, so we'll know where to start.
And why in our neighborhood was it $40,000 and everywhere else 20?
Well, there were some neighborhoods that went up more than 20, more than 40.
All I can see is at my neighborhood, and they're not $150,000, $60,000 houses. The house next door, 238, there's no way.
Well,
Mayor,
thank you.
I just hopped on the auditor's website. It looks like they're even offering informal reviews. So I'll get with you afterwards and give you that phone number to call that you can do an informal review with their office.
Yes, I mean, there's just so many rentals. They don't care. They're not, it's not their house that they invested their whole life into. My house is my house.
40.
I fix it, whatever I have to do, I fix and do what I have to do.
They know where the money
I
is.
get cracked.
Next, we'll call up Gary Babb of 2311 Bushnell. No longer with us. All right. Then we'll move on to Frank Smith of 4703 Byesville Boulevard.
Frank Smith, 4703 Byesville Boulevard. First thing I want to say is thank you very much for coming out and fixing those holes for me.
You're welcome.
I really do appreciate what you did. I really do appreciate what you've done. I really do thank you, and I really appreciate that. Another thing.
Frank, can we make sure that's on record that you're thanking them? I'm joking around with you.
I'll share that with the guys, thank you.
Oh.
The guys
I'm messing
Oh,
with
you're
you.
not used to me coming up here and saying something nice, huh? Oh, okay. I guess that is something strange. Well, okay. I guess it is. I guess that is something. Well, I guess it's time for me to complain a little bit.
That's fine.
Okay. Well, I got something to complain about now. Well, they are working over at the shop again. They're pulling motors over there again in that building over there. They're over there working, and they haven't pulled all his trucks out of there. They are over there. They haven't pulled all his equipment out of there yet. Then they're supposed to have already had it all out of there. So I don't know what to do now, but they haven't cleaned it out. There is somebody over there working.
So we can take a look at, this is the property adjacent to yours.
Hmm?
This is the property near your property that you're
Yeah,
referencing?
across the street over
Okay.
there. But yeah, they come out of there today with a motor, so there is somebody in there working. So they are working in there.
Okay, well, we can certainly make sure that code enforcement
But
is
they're
keeping an eye
not
on
supposed
that.
to be in there working. But they are working in there. And
Okay.
they're certainly not supposed to be. And they're supposed to be moving the rest of those trucks out of there. And this is what the judge said. All that stuff's supposed to be, the rest of his trucks are supposed to be out of there.
Okay,
All right.
All them commercial trucks and trailers and all that stuff is supposed to be off of that lot, period.
okay. Well, we appreciate this update, and now we can follow up on our end.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you,
sir.
Frank. All right, we'll now move into discussion items, of which we have a couple. We'll start with utility billing.
I just wanted our staff to have the opportunity tonight to just give a brief update on utility billing. I want to first thank our staff. We just finished our second round of utility bills here in July, and so we are right in the middle of collections right now, but at this point, Mrs. Moore is just going to give a brief update, and Ms. Davis is here as well.
Thank you, Jesse. So I was out with family on vacation last week, but I heard there were some questions about the second round of utility bills. So I have a couple general comments, timeline, and then I can answer any questions. Appreciate April coming tonight. April is the glue that manages the customer service team up front. So I want to remind people too, like, this is a brand-new program. Many moving pieces, multiple vendors, multiple software programs. We're learning as we implement, And we have the ability to work through the processes and fine-tune them within the limitations of the ordinance and the software constraints. Staff has done an exceptional job at implementing this brand-new program. They've followed all the standard operating procedures, 67 of them is what I have to date, and they've handled customers with respect and efficiency. So congratulations to them for doing such a good job. The timeline, I heard there were questions. So the bills for the second quarter, billing files finalized July 1st, right? And that includes for the previous quarter. The vendor, those bills are uploaded to the vendor queue, and a quality review is performed by the vendor. That's Peregrine. They develop the proofs for the bill statements for the city. And since we are new clients, Peregrine spends extra time conducting additional quality assurance checks on the first few mailing jobs, just to make sure all the processes work as expected, the bills print as expected. City received the proof back from Peregrine. We checked it July 2nd in the morning and approved it. We always look for accuracy, and we're spending more time double checking just to make sure they're going out correct. So following city approval, the morning of the 2nd, Peregrine printed the bills and released them to the post office for processing and delivery. That was a holiday weekend, July 3rd. So the post office, some teams of the post office celebrated the holiday on the 3rd and some on the 4th. So they went to the post office, and then the bills entered the mail stream on July 6th. Let me see here. And I'm getting this timeline from staff. So I was disconnected for a week. It was lovely. So when we look at how that happened, we've been monitoring the mail schedule during the first billing, during the first delinquent billing, and now this second billing, to see when property owners actually receive bills. What makes Riverside a little unique, we actually have 5 different zip codes and operate out of 5 different post offices. So with the data we've received so far, in just evaluating 2 cycles, staff, and this is April's team who takes the questions and the calls and the walk-in customers all day, staff is recommending to account for how long it takes to get from the mail clearinghouse to actually someone's front door, that we change the due date from the 20th to the 28th of the billing month or the first business day thereafter. We also want folks to know, if you have a concern about your bill, and that could be anything, including your ability to pay on time, we encourage you to call our customer service team. You can reach us at the main city number, 233-1801, or email us your concern, and that email address is utilitybilling@riversideoh.gov. And to date, the ladies up front have successfully been able to work with everybody who's brought a concern forward. So I have no doubt anyone who has a concern that we can help you. But I'd be happy to answer any specific questions you might have.
So is the plan moving forward to stick with that same type of timeline, but push the due date back by those 8 days? Is that, did I understand that correctly?
The due date will change from the 20th to the 28th or the first business day
And that'll be the
thereafter.
regular plan moving
Well,
forward?
that is our
or-
staff recommendation
Okay.
with council's approval or
Okay.
not.
Other thoughts? And there are no late fees being charged for the second quarter billing.
That's correct. So my concern with blanket statements about late fees is we do have fees that will be assessed when the assessments occur. So like the city has built in a fee, and then the county will also put on a fee. So that's why we're encouraging people to call us and just have individual conversations about their individual circumstance. But as of right now, the city continues to work with everyone on an individual basis, and no late fees to date have been put on anyone's account.
And no accounts have been sent to, have been yet assessed on property taxes
That is correct.
as of today.
As of today. So when fees are talked about, it's hard to differentiate between a county fee, a city fee, a late fee, to residents. I mean, it's a charge over and beyond what their original account balance was. So we just need to keep that in mind from a communication standpoint.
And no one's been without service.
That's correct.
Other thoughts from any of us? I think, is there the need for a motion to adopt the recommendation of staff?
No, Mr. Mayor, that's an administrative process, but we like to run those types of changes that have public import through council to get feedback, but there's no need for a motion or any kind of formal action on something like
If
that.
there's any other input, I think moving to the 28th is
I support that change.
I
a good
agree.
idea.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
And hopefully refining the mailing process. Okay. If there's nothing else in utility billing, let's talk about the community garage sale.
That's exciting. So this will be our second community garage sale of the year. We had one earlier in the season, so this one will be July 30th through August 1st. It's the same format as before, where you can look at the Facebook posting and see, and, you know, obviously put your address into that. And then, if it's okay, I'd like to make one more announcement that doesn't have anything to do with the garage sale, but we're hosting a movie night on Saturday, August 8th. And so staff asked me to promote that at this meeting, and then we'll remind everyone again at the August meeting as well. So movie night, we're going to watch Zootopia 2 at Ontruck Park. The kids' activities start at 4:30, but the movie will start at 6. So families are encouraged to bring blankets and comfy pillows and enjoy the movie together, so.
Question on the yard sale. There's, or
Yes.
garage sale, whichever you want to call it. I've seen two different dates.
Oh, it's a
On the
4-day.
news.
It's a 4-day.
Yeah, the newsletter actually says through August 2nd. So,
Oh,
yes.
okay.
So I guess that's the correct date then.
And the event has been updated.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, anything else on community garage sale, community yard sale? All right, well then we'll talk about the stormwater homestead exemption reduction discussion, or we'll revisit that discussion, I should say.
So since the last council meeting, council agreed at the last council meeting to do research, continue to do research about the homestead exemption. I think we talked about how that wouldn't start until January 1st would be the first time there'd be any type of discounting relative to the homestead discount should council pass such an adjustment. So during the last month, staff has begun talking about what that would look like from an implementation standpoint and that type of thing. So we're still very much in the research phase of that. And so we do not have a formal presentation to council on that yet. I know there's questions about a stormwater ordinance, so we can take those questions if you would like.
I thought there would be a draft ordinance presented to us for review tonight based on the last meeting.
That was my understanding too.
Yeah.
So I can address that, council members. So in reviewing the last meeting, audio and video, and my notes from the last meeting, it was very clear that there was a direction to continue staff conducting research and discussion internally about how to implement a homestead exemption. I drafted an ordinance. It is a skeleton ordinance that's procedural in nature that repeals and replaces section 935.23 of the Stormwater Management Code to require the application of a downward adjustment should the owner that applies for that adjustment receive the homestead exemption pursuant to the county auditor's records for the given tax year of payment. I cannot fill in what that adjustment will be. I cannot fill in if the adjustment will limit that owner from receiving any other adjustments, adjustment stacking, so to speak. I cannot fill in that effective date until those key provisions are determined by council. So I have an ordinance. I prepared an ordinance that I'm happy to circulate, but there are those key material pieces that need to be determined and adjudicated by council, by at least a quorum of council, before that can be published on an agenda to meet our publication requirements and the charter and the city code. I'm happy to distribute that, but for me to finalize that ordinance, I need at least a determination from a quorum of council as to what the level of the adjustment is, whether that adjustment will preclude further adjustments to be applied for and received by the owner, and I need to know the effective date. Once I have that data, I can draft an ordinance, and staff is continuing to work on the financial implications so that council has the information before it to know what percentage of a adjustment modification will result in what amount of revenue will come in, for example. So once those determinations are made, I'm happy to circulate that ordinance, put it on an agenda upon a motion and a second and a quorum, so it can be published properly and then be before council as a new business item as opposed to a discussion item.
Okay, well, the last time we met, Angel, check me out, or double check me on this, we had talked about a 25% reduction for people on the homes that have a homestead status. We said that they would be precluded from additional credits
Correct, no stacking.
should they receive the first one, and we had a January 1st, 2027 start date.
That's my understanding.
I'm prepared to make a motion to prepare an ordinance with those provisions. If there's anyone else, because at the last meeting, we first talked about 20%, then we talked about 25%, and other folks said that they wanted to talk about it more, which I'm happy to do, but I feel like unless I'm reading the group wrong, I feel like we're pretty close on a lot of those points that Jim made that would essentially allow him to go from skeleton draft into presentable one.
And then from that, we would get the information from the city in regards to, I'm sorry, I'm not speaking to the mic, from this information, then they would be able to do the research to kind of tell us what the impact would be.
Fiscal impact.
Fiscal impact and
Yeah,
things
we
like that.
talked about that last time, if we use the tier 2 average and the number, we already know how.
But
many homes
I
would
want,
be in there.
I would like to see exact numbers though, like,
Yeah, I thought that would be available tonight too.
but we didn't have exact percentages to
Well,
give.
I have a different interpretation of that meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
We kind of, I was along the same lines as her. We thought that, and maybe it was just the way she worded it, excuse me, that led us to that misunderstanding because she asked Jim if that gave ample time for staff and himself to have that information for the next meeting if we were canceling the one, and it was stated yes. So I was under the same assumption that she was, that all that information was going to be available tonight.
Yeah, and I know we talked about a lot of stuff.
Right.
Last meeting, so I think my understanding kind of was we were going to continue to discuss. I think we're all kind of in agreement that we're going to move forward with something, right? I didn't realize we were going to be coming to the table with an ordinance tonight, or with
I don't
the
think we-
actual, or the
No,
actual
yeah, I
ordinance
don't
tonight?
think that was the
I
intent.
didn't,
Yeah.
so,
But ready to.
but I think we have, I do think we're pretty much there on something. I didn't expect them to have the actual data and information tonight to us. So that was my understanding. So I wasn't expecting that tonight. So I guess it was a long meeting, a lot was discussed. So I think there was probably a lot going around, so.
That was missed at some points.
Yeah, so.
Now, the non-residential, the commercial, that was still under debate because of the different
Yeah.
size properties, blah, blah, blah,
Mhm.
yes.
So for the purposes of looking forward, if there was a motion in the affirmative tonight for a staff to be directed to essentially bring forth an ordinance, the process of bringing forth an ordinance that would allow for this 25% reduction for residential properties that have homestead exemption status, that they would be precluded from other discounts, and that it would take effect January 1st, 2027. Where would that put us on a timeline? If I make the motion, it gets seconded, and we all vote, or it gets voted in the affirmative, if that's to occur, what would the timeline look like from there knowing that it'll take effect on January 1st, but we don't want the discussion to linger. If I don't want to overstep, but I feel like that's kind of where we are.
Correct.
So there's the notice requirement for the ordinance.
Right, it just has to be published for at least 30 days before the second reading. So if there's a motion second and consensus to what you just suggested, Mr. Mayor, I would fill in the blanks in my sort of Mad Libs ordinance that I created that would effectuate everything that you just suggested. That would be scheduled on the August 3rd meeting for a first reading. If it advances, it would be scheduled for a second reading, public hearing, and potential adoption on the August 17, maybe, whatever the second meeting date in August is. That being said, the effective date would be obeyed until 1/1/27.
Right.
Well, and I think the big thing is, obviously, we're getting ready to impact into budget season, and we're trying to figure out what our budget for next year. So I think we need to have an understanding before this passes of the impact of the budget moving forward with this, if this were to go in effect, right? So obviously, we want to know sooner than later this information so that we can vote on it, so that we know that where our budget's going to be, and we can finalize our budget before the end of the year as well, too. So I think this all kind of plays into that account. So I think it sounds like we have time, but we kind of do need to move.
Pardon me
Little
if
haste.
I can just interject. Jesse, you requested actual specific financial data, and to do that, I would not be comfortable making the assumption that all of those are in residential Tier 2. I would recommend getting an actual list from the auditor of the specific properties, cross-referencing that with what tier they're in, so we can give you a precise calculation of what that financial impact is.
Yeah.
And I don't know how quickly that staff would be able to do that, but if you want exact numbers, I would not recommend using an estimate assuming Tier 2.
Okay. Yeah, and I don't think we should do an estimate of just lump everybody into that category. I mean, do we need exact, I mean, what is council's feelings on it? Exact numbers, or just kind of a?
My feeling is it's going to increase every 2 years till we're up to that normal. So I personally don't feel like I need any exact numbers or even estimates. I would like to roll with the discount. And then, as I said, because of the raise every 2 years as it is in it.
I think that making sure we're doing the most that we can for our most vulnerable citizens is more important than what that number would be anyway, to me.
And I'm 100% for doing a discount for our seniors and that. I just want to make sure that we're right at the 25% mark is the correct.
Well, the
correct
reason
mark.
we picked the 25% is that,
that
so
what the
that
county-
matches up with the
with the county,
homestead.
yeah.
Yeah, so that way people are not saying, okay, well, the city's only 20%, discount. And they're going to then be trying to outweigh, I mean, it just gets into too many numbers for the
No, I
residents
understand.
even. That way, they're either getting the 25% homestead or
They're choosing the other.
25% rain barrel and everything,
Mm-hmm.
or the 25% homestead. That way, it's not a 25% reduction
Yeah,
here,
that's right.
20% here. Yes. So
Yeah.
that way,
No,
the
yeah.
reduction stays flat across the board, more or less.
Well, in theory, we were already willing to give up 25% because everybody could have gotten a rain barrel. I mean,
Right.
there would be nothing stopping every single resident from doing that. It's unlikely they would have, but we were already willing to go.
My understanding was, though, and there again, this is just my understanding from social media. It's not anybody I knew personally. I don't have factual information on that. But they said that they tried, and what they had, the city wouldn't approve because it had to be done, a certain way, specifically this type or whatever. So there again, that's what I've read on social media. It's not, I don't know that to be factual.
I can clarify on that.
Yes.
To date, all applications we have received have been approved. And for folks who needed a little tweaking, myself and my staff have made site visits and helped them meet compliance with the requirements. So we have rejected no one so far who's
Okay,
applied.
but there
Zero.
has been then,
There's been 0 people rejected.
but things that they had to, it was those cost inferring that had to be twitched to fit?
No, nothing,
Okay,
nothing. Everyone who has applied that we've done a site visit on has been approved.
okay, thank you.
Okay.
So let's get the ordinance draft up and then just,
Can I ask a clarifying question? Do you want a staff presentation on implementation or no? It's fine if you don't, I'm just,
Well, when you say implementation, you mean how you would go about determining homestead status?
no, so homestead status is determined by the county.
Right.
And we get a list, but then it's my understanding based on, again, we have just started discussing this in terms of implementation at a staff level, but we have to manually enter the 1,300 to 1,400 homestead exemptions now. And then we're going to have to come up with some type of standard operating procedure on how long that exemption is tied to that property before we audit it.
In case somebody moves.
So,
So the homestead exemption list you get is not updated every year from the county?
so yes, it would be updated from the county, but we then have to update our system.
Right.
Our system does not communicate with the like.
Right, but
we
you
have
do
to
get the
hand you
list,
that.
you don't have to go
Mhm.
out and like,
No.
you know.
But it's a new list every year, although it might be very
Right.
similar. They would still have to go.
Some
and double
added,
check.
some removed,
Yeah, because somebody
yes.
might move out of a property that had it before.
Correct.
That's why I wanted to move quickly on it, so if passed, the staff has plenty of time to try to work that stuff out and to make sure that the plan is solid before January 1st.
And so then if I fall back on what Mr. Maxfield was requesting, we can still at some point, when staff has time to do the configurations, when it's playing into the budget for next year, say, determine how much more of that is cutting out of the stormwater fees.
By
that?
by then.
Right.
Right.
I mean, if I'm not quite going there, let me know, Jesse.
no, you're fine.
Okay.
Unless I'm hearing anything else, I feel like there seems to be a pretty strong will to, as Jesse said, move forward with the ordinance preparation. And I think that we would be on track for August then. So I would make a motion that we instruct staff to prepare an ordinance to offer a 25% reduction for homestead exemption properties on residential lots in our city for the stormwater bill that would preclude them from any additional discounts and would take effect January 1st, 2027.
Second.
Motion from Mr. Williams and second from Ms. Frida Patterson. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Any other discussion items from city manager? Okay. And I plan to talk about Dilly Cemetery in my council member comments, or council member discussion. So, just so folks who are with us know, there is an executive session planned this evening for the reason listed on the agenda. We do not have any action to be taken afterwards, so there's nothing to hang around for. But we will have our council member discussion at this point, and I will turn to my right to Ms. Frida Patterson.
Okay, I already spoke on the Dilly Cemetery. I do want to make sure that I'm doing this on the record. I sent out an email, and I am resigning from the Montgomery County First Suburbs pursuant to the reasons I provided in the email to council. So I don't know what needs to be done, or if anything even needs to be done for that alternate to step into my position. Another thing that's been a common theme on social media is our tax delinquent properties that are within the city and some city-owned properties that look like cornfields. Me, as a resident, and not as council, would be, I mean, I can see where they would be upset with the fact that across the street from them or next door, we've got, grass and weeds as tall as we are, and there's rodents in them, and it's bringing in all the mosquitoes and everything. So I don't know what the protocol all protocol is on those. Like the tax delinquent, they are getting mowed and it's getting assessed on the property. But it's not happening very often at all. I can name two right off, 2350 Forest Home. I know that's a tax delinquent that right now is severely high. Another one that somebody else mentioned, but I did look up, but did not drive by myself, I have not had time, is on Aspen, and I believe it might be 623, that's a city-owned property. That's a vacant lot, and they were one that was also being complained about looking like a cornfield. So I hate that it's probably gonna cost the city more money, but, I mean, they're feeling like it's a double standard, and I can see how they could feel that if ours gets over 8 inches high, we can be fined and, everything, but city-owned or tax delinquent that's sitting there nobody's paying for can be a cornfield, and it gets mowed whenever somebody feels like it, is how they're feeling. So I would like to see us address that in the future as to getting those mowed more often. One more thing is the Beatrice sidewalk was supposed to begin June 1st, that project, and still yet nothing is going on, and I've had several residents message me asking me when that project is going to begin.
Is that the red light
That's the
project?
red light side, I think there's a portion of a sidewalk that's going into, and then it's continuing down to Valley. There was something there happening with Valley too. But yeah, that was slated for June 1st, and there's been no movement. There's no, it doesn't even look like the beginning of anything.
Like even staging.
Right,
Mrs. Moore has a comment.
yes.
I can update you on that. Construction period authorization began June 1st per ODOT.
Okay,
So we have had a kickoff meeting with the contractor, and they are mobilizing, and there are subs involved, and they anticipate starting work sometime in August.
August.
It is not a sidewalk project. It is a traffic signal project with improvements at the Harshman-Beatrice intersection and the Harshman Valley intersection.
Right, so there's not, I thought there was a little gap of sidewalk at some point that was being.
There's ADA ramps, right, but it is not a,
Right,
its core a sidewalk project.
Yeah, that was
It is
my
a
mistake, I just.
Traffic
wording.
signal
But yes.
project. Yeah, so we will very much be on site once the contractor mobilizes. That's Capital Electric. And note that the lead time on some of those traffic signal components is very lengthy. So it will probably come in phases where they get some stuff done and then they pause. But traffic control is part of the project, so.
Right, okay.
Traffic will be maintained during the entire project.
Okay, yes, they were, I've just been asked, like I said, on dates, hey, why haven't they started this? And I had no answer, so thank you, I do now, thank you. One last thing, sorry, there's been some people also on social media that said that they will not come to our meetings to speak because of having to give their address and it's being recorded on YouTube. This is whenever we fall back to what some people feel are safety issues and such, and having a family member that in the past had been abused, and had to run and flee, and was scared to death that person was going to get their address. I can understand where some people would be very skeptical of stating it in public and then it being recorded on YouTube for people all over the world to see. Since it is on that slip of paper, is there any way we can forego stating the address at the podium?
I would have to ask our law director.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So Councilmember Patterson, from a legal standpoint, there's no requirement for an address. What that does is help the clerk in drafting minutes to identify speakers, and there's no requirement that a speaker be a resident. Somebody could come from Omaha, Nebraska. It's an open meeting to anybody that wants to visit. That is something that I would need to confer with the city manager and just discuss process with. I certainly, being a former prosecutor that assisted in domestic violence prosecutions, I can certainly understand the sentiment. And just because a practice has always occurred doesn't mean that it has to occur for infinity. So I think that's more of an internal question we can discuss, but to allay your concern, there's no legal requirement that somebody give their address. They do need to state a name for the record and, speak into the microphone so it's recorded for minutes. But that's something I'm certainly happy to talk about with Manager Lytle.
Yes, please, and, yeah.
Thank you.
Update us. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And finally, that's all I have.
Were you going to make a motion? I kind of cut you off when we were in speaker comments, and I said,
Oh.
can you make that
Yes, thank you.
regarding the cemetery?
Yes.
You wanted to make a motion. I said, can you do that at council member comments? So we
Thank
can
you.
do that
Yes,
right
I
then.
have forgotten. I would like to make the motion for the city to do whichever is the appropriate thing, to reach out to Montgomery County to see if they would be willing to donate that cemetery to the city, since they've done it for other properties. And then if not, I'll follow back up on the possibilities of the tax lien on it. But first, if we could reach out to Montgomery County and see if they'd be willing to donate that over to the city.
I think that they would have to do a tax lien action to take possession. So would it be appropriate to ask if we could engage Montgomery County on the viability of a tax lien foreclosure of a tax lien delinquent property to take possession of it?
Or whichever way, yeah. If they
Yeah.
can't just donate or whatever way, if we can reach out to Montgomery County and find out what we can do and start the steps, if that is possible.
If there's
to
an
start doing so.
appropriate pathway to legal possession.
Right.
Of a tax delinquent vacant
Okay.
property. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I want to make sure we structure it correctly.
Correct.
So we don't hit a dead end, but there was another path forward.
Okay, yes.
Okay.
So do you want to,
So,
you word that, please.
so there would be, should it be the will of us, a will of council, a motion to request the city to engage with Montgomery County on possibly, on a possible tax lien foreclosure pathway for the Dilly Cemetery property for possible ownership. Anything I'm leaving out, Jim?
No, that would be legal. It would just be directing city staff, Jesse and myself, to contact the relevant officials at the county and basically ask them to to initiate a tax lien. No guarantee they would do that, but then
Right.
other options could be discussed if council would like. But that motion would be appropriate. That would give us what we need to
If
reach
we
out to the
start
county.
there and like, okay, we can't do
Yes.
that, well, then we know it's not a possibility, and then there's maybe another.
What's the next step, right?
So that's my motion. Is
Second.
there a second? Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Right. And is that the end of Frida's?
That is,
All right.
finally, thank you.
August 3rd is our next meeting. And for council, that is the fee payment night for my employer, and I work in the treasurer's office, and I am required to take and process those fee payments. It's not really optional. I don't know that I will be finished with that in time to make this meeting.
You won't.
So I just wanted to give everybody a heads up.
Okay,
That is it. for
That's
me.
it?
That's it.
okay. Well, speaking of the Dilly Cemetery, I know that it's been a topic of high importance for a number of people in our community. We did ask our law director to look into some background, and I want to make sure that I'm sharing appropriate items, but Jim, would you say that the gist of it is, as it stands today, because it is private property, because we're a municipal corporation, the city's ability to legally go to that property and perform any official tasks or repairs or anything really does not exist currently. But it would not preclude spirited citizens from doing things such as that, but in an official capacity because of how we're governed, and it is not our property. We would not be able to officially go there as it sits today and do some of the things that have been talked about.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor, that my legal advice, and this is conservative legal advice, understanding the ownership chain of title, and that there is a longtime, likely deceased owner, and it's been nearly impossible to find a responsible party with ownership to negotiate an easement or a purchase agreement with. So my recommendation and legal advice to council was, since the city does not own that property, I cannot advise that council, in an official capacity, direct maintenance on that property, enter that property. However, the prohibitions that preclude council from official action in that regard do not apply in the same way to private citizens. So a coalition of concerned citizens with the laudable goal of engaging with that property for its historic and patriotic value. That does not place council in any legal jeopardy, and that's always my analysis is, what is council going to do to stay out of trouble? So citizen coalition does not implicate council.
So that if there's not an owner to trespass, anybody going could not be trespassed from that property, correct?
Realistically speaking, if there's no owner that's going to prosecute a trespass claim, it's very unlikely that that trespass claim will come to fruition.
Okay. Well, and I'm also interested to see what may come with the discussion from the county. They might not even know the property's there either.
Right.
So, and it has not had any payments on their assessment for at least 80 years, just based on the amount owed. I also wanted to follow up on the conversation that Tony Parton started. A lot of the questions that he posed on the flock camera, I think that we can provide that information. And I also think that there's a large amount of discussion and desire in the community to know what it is that the flock cameras do for our law enforcement. I feel like they do serve a purpose, and they serve a valuable one. I don't know if we need a motion from us to ask the city manager to direct the police chief to assemble some of that data, but I would kind of look towards you, Jesse, on the best way for us to get information that we can share with the community about what the flock cameras have done for us.
So last week, I think it was last week, we received a couple of requests from council members on flock cameras, and so that's what Mrs. Patterson was referring to in terms of the fact sheet that came out. Our law director can speak to what information we are allowed to produce relative to the flock cameras.
Thank you, Ms. Manager. So I'm a former prosecutor. I'm very attuned to wanting to produce any information that would explain why certain law enforcement tools benefit the community and benefit the police chief's department in fighting crime. ORC section 14943A1YY prohibits nearly all data information, anything that is gleaned substantively from and derivative information from the use of those automatic license plate readers, flock cameras, whatever you want to call them, from being released, except in limited circumstances, for example, to another valid, verified law enforcement authority for an investigative purpose for criminal activity. However, there is information I would interpret as safe to release and legal to release. Councilmember Fry brought up a good point about ways and policies whereby law enforcement agencies audit for security purposes to ensure that the access to those camera systems are authorized, and what kinds of penalties or what kind of internal controls are in place to address unauthorized access and prevent it. So I think that is something that is subject to release. The number of cameras that exist in a community is something that is logistical in nature, subject to release. My advice is that we analyze between the manager and certainly the police chief, because we have engaged other communities, the sheriff's office, DPD. This is a hot topic. We understand that it's a hot topic in the Municipal Attorneys Association. What to release, what's allowed under the law, because the prohibition is very broad. But there are certainly educational, logistical, and audit compliance items of information that I can say right now I'm comfortable with being provided on a fact sheet that could be released. When you start to get into specific criminal enterprise activity that has been prosecuted based on derivative evidence gleaned from the flock cameras, I get very concerned that that violates that prohibition in the Public Records Act. And that prohibition is to anybody. Media is not accepted from that prohibition. So I'd want to be careful. I don't know, Mayor, to your point, whether a motion and second would be necessary unless you were wanting some specific item of legislation or something. But
No.
to it seems that there's a desire of council as a whole to be provided whatever information legally can be under the law. I'd be comfortable advising that's something that I can work with the police chief and the manager on producing. But I am steadfast in my interpretation of the law. I know you can go on Google and you can find out where ALPRs are in the community, but I can't advise the city release information that violates the law. So I'm not stupid. I'm not misunderstanding that there's information that may be out there, but I can't advise the city produce that because of the liability to the city. So that's something that I'd want to work with those two staff members to ensure that the police chief is comfortable from her perspective with her interagency contacts, the manager's comfortable with, and that I can legally support.
I do have one question. One word you mentioned in there that you said were prosecuted. Whenever I have requested, I didn't request where, and I don't know if that'll make a difference. I didn't request ones that were prosecuted using flock as evidence. Just a standard so my example was the road rage incident that just happened at Park Lane, New Carlisle. It clearly was stated on the news, all over everything, that the flock cameras assisted in tracing that vehicle until it was able to be located. And it was caught several hours later. So that's pre-prosecution, pre-anything. So that's what I was trying to get, was just information as to what have they assisted in solving for the police, as far as, and my example was like 1 abducted child, 5 stolen vehicles. So not prosecuted, not went through those whole steps, but at what point in time did they assist our police department in locating a vehicle, even if it was in Dayton or wherever, that it was something that happened in Riverside, a crime that happened in Riverside, and that flock cameras then helped assist our law enforcement in solving that by tracking those vehicles.
Statistics, not actual
Exactly,
crime data.
statistics, not actual dates, not people's names, not,
Not
this
case
type of
numbers.
vehicle, very generic, just a number,
To justify their use and how they
Exactly.
benefit Riverside.
exactly.
And I appreciate that clarification.
Thank
I do
you.
recall that in the request. I was not limiting my legal advice to prosecuted. Any investigative derivative evidence I interpret as falling under that prohibition, and it would create legal liability for the city to release that, in my opinion.
Well, just to be clear, as a person talking to the community, if I don't have data to support the payment and use of something, then it makes it very difficult to continue that support, just to put that out there.
I understand that. I'm trying to protect all 6 right here of you from any legal claims. I'm happy to work with, again, the manager and the police chief on as much information as possible that can be released. Because I'll be frank, again, with my background with law enforcement, I'm a fan. But I need to protect the 7 of you from unnecessary legal challenges that you don't need. So I will work with the police chief and the manager on what I believe is legally available to produce that can help you in your dealing with constituents to help your legislative position that you just mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to Mr. Maxfield.
Frida took up all my time today, so I don't have any. No,
And another thing.
I don't have anything today. I'm good.
All right, Ms. Fry.
A couple of things. One of the discussion tonight hit on one of my my pet projects, I guess. I had been trying to work on having a more formalized process for introducing legislation from council members rather than just very ad hoc at the end of a meeting, bringing it up. And I worked a lot with our previous city manager on formalizing decisions at the end of a meeting So when he would say, you know, I'm gathering that this is the will of council, that was stated in a very formal way. I think it's probably something we could revisit. And it, you know, to my mind, having something in that's spelled out in our council member handbook, that this is the process and this is what we do, and just kind of touching on that, you know, when we're coming out of the meeting, these are the things that we're expecting in a very succinct, formal way, I think would be helpful. So if anybody wants to work with me on that, I would
Josh
I would
was
love
really
it.
great about that.
Yeah, he
Let
was.
me just
He
say, I
was.
knew exactly where you're going. I didn't question what I was doing at that point whenever he would say,
Yes.
"I'm hearing."
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
I agree with everything you just said. I think that would be really good for us to look at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. The other thing is, Mr. Parton, you had asked for transparency on, you know, who authorized these flock cameras, and I'll be forthright and say I voted to establish that contract. When we were having the discussion about it, one of the things that I interrogated them thoroughly on is, you know, how are we protecting this data? I was satisfied that the data was being well protected, but I'm certainly willing to revisit that topic and ensure that that is in fact true, and proceed accordingly. That is all.
All right. And Mr. Gaby?
I have nothing tonight.
All right. Then we will plan to move into executive session for the reason listed on the agenda. Is there a
Motion
motion?
Second.
There's a motion from Mr. Maxfield, a second from Ms. Frida Patterson to go into executive session for the reason listed on the agenda. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Maxfield?
Yes.
Ms. Frida Patterson?
Yes.
Ms. Fry?
Yes.
Mr. Gaby?
Yes.
Ms. Angel Patterson?
Yes.
Mayor Williams?
Yes. We are in exec at 8:01 PM. Thank you, folks.